Hello, my name's Bree, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel, Breezy Banter, a place where I talk about the things I want to talk about. In today's video, I'm doing a continuation of the series that I've created here on YouTube, where I talk in depth about a indie perfume house that I've tried, and in general, my experience with the house, including things like any issues with customer service, shipping times, that sort of thing. I talk about the fragrances themselves that I've tried, that I've liked, that I've disliked, that I thought were just okay. And then I talk about whether or not I'll recommend them to any viewers. In today's video, I'm going to be focusing on Stereoplasm. And I'll say up front that I think Stereoplasm is a little controversial for reasons that I'll get into. I believe I first heard about Stereoplasm because somebody on Reddit probably made a post about like what are some Canadian perfumeries that I could try out, and Stereoplasm was an example that just came up time and time again. You might not know, I'm Canadian. And although I do spend a fair bit of time in the US and I can have things shipped to the US, it's always a delight when I can have things shipped to Canada for a reasonable price. If you're not aware, shipping from the US to Canada can be exorbitant, to say the least. Particularly, I think a lot of companies just straight up won't sell any perfumes that contain alcohol in them because there's additional restrictions and whatnot that apply, and that can drive shipping costs way up. Like, you can have a 1 ounce perfume and spend like $80 on shipping because it contains alcohol. So that means that a lot of shops that are available to Canadians are those that sell perfume oils, which does happen to be my preferred carrier type for perfume. But even with that, shipping on average probably costs at least $20 to $25 in USD. And again, if you're not aware, the exchange rate between the Canadian dollar and the US dollar is pretty bad right now for Canadians. So $20 American is probably going to cost at least $28 Canadian. It's also possible that you will pay a foreign transaction exchange rate fee through your bank, so you're not even getting like the market rate, you have to pay above that. And that just means that purchasing a lot of perfume from the States can become very expensive very quickly. So Stereoplasm is Canadian, and on top of that, they happen to be based in Ontario. And I'm from Ontario. Well, I'm not from Ontario, I live in Ontario. And they have free shipping within Ontario. Just no matter how much you spend, you can get free shipping. And that makes it very, very accessible for me. So that's what really interested me to start off with, is just having the ability to try a bunch of different samples from a house that seemed interesting at first glance and not have to pay just kind of $30 off the top to have them shipped to me. And I could talk about this in greater detail in another video, but I'm not saying I'm happy to pay for shipping. I don't think that's a cost that merchants need to just eat, but I do recognize that for myself, paying $30 time and time again, and that's kind of at the lower end of things, is just exorbitant. And it means that I have to be cautious about the houses that I try and making really smart purchasing decisions if I do purchase something from the US. So with all of that said, let's get into discussing the perfumes. And so for Stereoplasm, I have my spreadsheet here, and I have sampled or tried 87 of their perfumes. And what that means is going through 87 perfumes and telling you the notes and my thoughts on them would take a very, very long time. So what I plan on doing instead is talking about the perfumes that I rated 8 to 10 out of 10 or 1 to 3 out of 10. So the really, really great perfumes and the really, really bad perfumes. And then the ones in the middle, what I plan on doing is I'll include a list in the either description box or as a pinned comment, depending on how long it is, of all of the perfumes that I've tried along with their notes. And then if you have a comment or a question about one of the ones that I've tried that I didn't talk about in this video and you want to know my thoughts on them, then I'm happy to respond to you as a comment. Otherwise, we would just be here for like 3 hours as I made my way through this. And before we get started, I do want to talk just very briefly about some of my preferences. I've said before that I basically want to smell like a cupcake at all times. I recently heard of a perfume called a vanilla lime cupcake, and that to me sounds perfect. I love vanilla, I love gourmand scents, I love things like cupcake, frosting, anything in that sort of realm. Scents that I'm a bit more iffy on include notes like some fruity notes. So blueberry can be a bit hit and miss, raspberry can be a bit hit or miss. And then scents that I tend to really dislike include a lot of smoky notes, more masculine scents. Of course, anyone can wear whatever scent that they want to wear, but anything that leans more androgynous or masculine tends to not be my preference. So let's get into the perfumes themselves. So one perfume that I tried is called Bananaimo, like banana and Nanaimo put together. I rated this 9 out of 10, and originally I tried a sample size and I ended up full sizing it. This is described as smooth banana custard, crushed graham crackers and dark chocolate, shredded coconut, and sugared almonds. I said that this scent is really delicious. It's sweet and gourmand with a slight hint of spice. It has less banana than I was expecting. I'll also just very briefly mention that my skin tends to be quite sensitive to spice notes like cinnamon and nutmeg in particular will make my arms go like beet red, but it tends to go away rather quickly. So what that means is if I like a scent that happens to have those notes, I can usually just kind of withstand the discomfort for a couple minutes, but I tend to stay away from buying them myself just because I just don't want to put myself through that discomfort. And I find that spice notes such as cinnamon and nutmeg don't tend to add to the scent themselves, so I'm not really like searching for them to start with. The next scent that I tried is called Vanilla Cloud. I rated this 9 out of 10, and I originally tried a sample and have full sized it. It's described as banana, fresh marshmallow, vanilla cream, white chocolate, and hazelnut. I said this smells so good. It's close to one of the Sud Pacifique perfumes I've tried before. It's very summery and beachy. The next scent that I've tried is Bottleneck Butterfly. I rated this 8 out of 10 and said I might full size it. It's described as lush coral honeysuckle, juicy sugared watermelon, and tart white grapefruit. I said this scent is sweet and fresh. I definitely get watermelon. It smells like the jungle in the morning and dewy and warm, but with a topping of sugar. Next, I tried Bouncy Boba, which I gave 9 out of 10. I originally tried a sample and I have since full-sized it. It's described as a delightfully chewy boba made from tapioca flour mixed with sugar and rolled into bite-sized balls. And I said I had no idea boba smelled like this. It's so good, sweet and gourmand with the tiniest amount of spice. Next, I tried Bumbly Witch Fair, which I rated 3 out of 10. This is country spice cake, chocolate chip cookies, orange cream, and warm hazelnut coffee. And I said the scent smells kind of sort of good, but after wearing it for a bit, I thought I smelled something kind of skunk-like, and then I realized it was me. So I won't be purchasing that one or full-sizing it. Next, I tried a scent that I'm going to absolutely butcher the pronunciation of. It's Cashy E Frisant. I rated it 8 out of 10, and I might full-size it. It's described as a sparkling flute of Prosecco, lemon soda, a slice of white ginger, orange ricotta cookies, and black currant cordial. I said the scent is so interesting. It's definitely bubbly, mixed with some rich coconut, vanilla, and a citrus note. I would have guessed that this was champagne and coconut, so reading the list of notes, it's not too surprising, but it is oddly intoxicating. Next, I tried Comic Corn, which I rated 9 out of 10, and I tried a sample and since full-sized it. It's described as crunchy clods of caramel corn with coconut cream chocolate, Jeff puffed marshmallows, and Europa sea salt. I said this scent is so difficult to describe. I didn't know caramel corn smelled like this. I mostly get the coconut cream with perhaps a touch of saltiness mixed with something I can't quite put my finger on, and I just said it was delicious. Next is Disco Stardust. I rated it 9 out of 10. I tried a sample and I've since full-sized it. This one's interesting. It says winter Mai Tais, roll-on lip gloss, expensive sunglasses, tanning bed oil, and new car smell. I said this scent is so bizarre in the best way possible. It's like the sweetness of being 14 and putting on lip gloss in a car with a little fruity sweetness added in. So good. Next, I tried Excitation, which I rated 8 out of 10. I had originally tried this as a sample, and I had requested it as a larger sample in a future order. So I'm a bit iffy on whether or not I'll actually full-size it at this point. It's described as frothed Irish cream with rye whiskey, evaporated milk, wild honey, and chocolate-covered coffee beans. I said I definitely did not think I would enjoy this off of first smell, which seems to be a theme with Stereoplasm. I got chocolate once I first applied it, mixed with something that I couldn't put my finger on, but it mellowed rather quickly into this creamy honey chocolate scent. This is a bit of an outlier for me based on my taste, but it's lovely. Next is Firelick. I rated this 8 out of 10. I originally tried it as a sample and I asked for it again as another free sample in a future order. So I'm a bit unsure whether or not I will full size it at this point in time. It's described as warm cardamom amber, cinnamon infused sandalwood, rose petals, and dragon blood tongue. I said when I first smelled this, I definitely got strong cinnamon from it. However, the cinnamon mellowed out quite nicely on the skin and the amber became much more apparent. It also didn't irritate my skin at all, which is quite rare given that it's a cinnamon scent. And I said the scent has a cologne-like quality to it, which I think is due to the sandalwood, but it's still quite nice and I feel comfortable wearing it. Next is Frog Dew, which I rated 1 out of 10. It's described as a dewy coat, scented by notes of swamp, azalea, wild basil, bergamot, luminescent marsh gas, and devil fruit. And I said, I hated this in the bottle. It's super earthy. I actually ended up selling this one because I just didn't even want to try it based on what it smelled like in the bottle, which I don't necessarily recommend. Maybe I'll talk about this at the end a bit more, but perfume often does just change when it's actually applied. So I ended up selling this, did not like it. It was very earthy. Next is Golden Hour, which I rated 3 out of 10. It's described as Tatarian honeysuckle, lemon basil, crabgrass, garden tomato leaf, sunset musk, cilantro, peeled rhubarb, sun shower, pink carnation, daisy stems. I said this is very, very, very herbaceous. I get straight grass from this. Just scrolling through, lots of 5s and 6s and 7s. Next is Lataza. I gave this 8 out of 10, and I'm still a maybe on whether or not I'll full size it. It's described as flaky croissant, iced maraschino dusted with cocoa powder, antique porcelain, and rich agarwood. I said the scent is so interesting. It's hard for me to really get any of the listed scents. Has a mild cologniness to it, but in a androgynous, perhaps even feminine way. It's odd but appealing. Next is Lemon Meringue Macaron, which I rated 10 out of 10. I tried it as a sample and I've since full-sized it. It's described as delicate meringue, lightly toasted to perfection, made with fresh lemon zest, dusty almond flour, and buttery creamed sugar. I said that the scent is like a delicious lemon bar that is very creamy, buttery, and rich. I was smelling myself all day when I wore it. Next is Lovesick Lake. I rated this 9 out of 10. Originally tried this as a sample. I've since full-sized it. Lovesick Lake is probably the scent that got me the most interested in Stereoplasm when I first was looking at their catalog, and for good reason. It's described as bright pink and heartbreakingly optimistic, cotton candy served with thick strawberry cheesecake and sour lemon squares on a hot, rainy day. I said this is sweet and tart. The description completely matches the scent. It is lovely. Next is November Cakes. I rated this 9 out of 10. Originally tried a sample, have since full-sized it. It's described as fluffy, sticky rolls, lightly spiced with nutmeg, smothered in zesty orange glaze, steaming hot and fresh from the oven. I said that this scent is so nice and lovely. It smells as described, but is less spicy than I was expecting. I 100% smell like a sweet baked treat. I had mild skin irritation upon first application. Next is Paperback Cafe, which I think is a very well-beloved scent from Stereoplasm. Rated it 9 out of 10. Tried it as a sample, have since full-sized it. It's described as sitting in a cozy cafe with a well-worn book. You nurse a steaming Earl Grey latte. Beside you is a ripe Japanese plum and some ginger candies to help with your studies. The smell of creme brulee permeates your space, bourbon vanilla custard, as you hear the snap of a perfectly crunchy caramelized shell. I said I don't really get any of these notes or the vibes of the name, but it's sweet and clean and fresh. I find that tea notes in particular tend to be very hit and miss for me, and sometimes it's very apparent why that is, and other times less so. I think in this case it just happened to work, but I don't really get tea from it. But as I said, this is a very well-beloved scent from the store. Next is Pop Silica. I rated it 9 out of 10. Originally tried it as a sample, have since full-sized it. It's described as blue ice pop slush and flat crystal cola with cool quartz, pixie powder, and a handful of their popcorn. I said the scent is quite sweet, but hard to nail down individual notes. I was told that I smelled good while wearing it. Next is Rasp Bunny, which I rated 10 out of 10. I originally tried it as a sample, since full-sized it. It's described as creamy light pink chocolate with fluffy peaks of sugary yellow marshmallow. I said originally I mostly got cherry, and I thought I was going to give a cherry medicinal vibe to it. Instead, it's a sweet and fruity and yet also musky scent. It's difficult to describe, but I also thought that I smelled so good all day. Next is Ricky, which I gave 8 out of 10. Originally tried it as a sample, have since full-sized it. Described as Old Tom Gin and muddled cilantro impresses upon star wedges of Mary Ellen sweet lime and bubbly soda. I said this is such an interesting and weird scent. Upon initial application, it's quite sweet, given its notes. Over time, it became a bit more herbally and mature, but the mixture of soda and lime notes with cilantro is intoxicating. Next is Scaredy Cats, which I rated 10 out of 10. Tried it as a sample, have since full-sized it. Clearly, trying these scents as samples is like the way to go for me. It's described as a sheet white marshmallow, midnight sugar cookies, and an extinguished candle. I said, yes, please. Upon immediate application, I got sugary herbaceous lavender with something else. Then for a few minutes, it was looking dire with the herbaceousness coming out quite a lot. And a few minutes after that, what a ride, it mellowed into the slightly smoky and sweet scent with an extra something something. Next, I tried Sick of Love, which I rated 9 out of 10. Similarly, tried it as a sample, then full-sized it. It is light blue and delightfully empowering elderberry cotton candy melting into blue tansy and freshly popped champagne on a cool rainy night. I said the scent is very similar to Lovesick Lake, which I mentioned earlier, which I gave a very high rating to. It has ever so slightly more herbalness to it, but it's still quite sweet and fresh. Next is Sneezy Cat. I rated 9 out of 10. Tried it as a sample and then full-sized it. It's soft cotton candy purrs of sweet baby's breath, fresh French lavender, dreamy garden thyme, and a hint of chamomile. So this is a very nice and sweet lavender scent. It certainly lives up to the name. I find lavender can be a bit hit or miss. There are some very herbaceous lavenders that I tend to dislike, but not always. And then there's kind of a more sweet, perhaps more floral as opposed to herbal lavender that I tend to enjoy a bit more, but sometimes if it leans too floral, then I don't. So lavender it's a bit iffy. Next is Snow Mallow. I rated this 8 out of 10, and I have said I might full-size it. It's bright pineapple, tangelo, and mojito mint buried under heavy vanilla and heats of coconut cream. I said the scent smells like a combination of cream, sunscreen, and fruitiness. It's very interesting and very summery. Next is Soft Cat. I rated it 10 out of 10. Tried it as a sample, have since full-sized it. Sunday morning biscuits, sticky marshmallow fluff, warm vanilla toe beans, and soft mews, I suspect that might have been meows, under piles of sun-dried cashmere. I said I was complimented while wearing this at a convenience store. This is a fresh and clean vanilla scent that smells like it also has a little bit of spice, very minimally. Upon first application, I actually got a licorice note from it. Next is Sunday morning, which I rated 8 out of 10. Tried it as a sample, have since full-sized it. Banana popsicle, vintage furs, edelweiss, and salted margarita. I said the scent is very interesting. It smells like banana with extra richness and deepness. It's like an oat banana split, but less sweet. Next is Toasted Marshmallow, which is also a very well-loved scent from Stereoplasm. I rated it 9 out of 10, and I've since full-sized it. It's bright green ice cream baked inside marshmallow meringue, usually found during summer months in Cafe Midi. I said this scent is softer / subtler than most others from Stereoplasm, but this gave lightly spiced ice cream. Next is Valhalla Melon, which I rated 10 out of 10. I tried it as a sample, have since full-sized it. Story of this video: it has fresh watermelon, lemon vine, vaporized sativa, bleeding yew, and crystal skin musk. I said the scent is like candied watermelon. It's delicious and fresh and sweet and feminine. And then lastly, I tried Yellowbird, which I rated 9 out of 10. And I will full-size this. It's described as wedges of tangelo, pineapple, and lime in spiced vanilla garnished with diamond frost and mint. I said the scent is really delicious. It smells like a fruity, sugary drink. The citrus notes and pineapple mixed with vanilla gives a sweet spring / summery vibe. So I think what you can tell based on what I've described is I've sampled quite a lot of their collection, and the scents that work for me, they really work for me. And I've gone ahead and full-sized quite a few of them, again, because it's just so easy for me to do that when I can purchase in Canadian dollars from a Canadian store, not have to pay for shipping. It's very easy, and it's not that expensive. I find Stereoplasm tends to be on the, generally I will say, the cheaper end of things. Not cheap per se, but just as a Canadian, far more accessible. Their store is far more accessible to me. As I said earlier, I only talked about the scents that I gave 1 to 3 or 8+ out of 10 in terms of rating in this video. There are many here that I gave 6 or 7. So again, if you want to hear my thoughts on those, there will be a pinned comment of all of the scents that I've tried from Stereoplasm. Please just let me know. I'm happy to tell you my thoughts in a comment. There are also a handful of discontinued scents that I want to try from them, and I really hope that I get to at some point. I haven't seen them. I do kind of troll the Indie Makeup and More D-Stash postings to see if anyone ever has these, and I've seen exactly one time, but somebody had commented before me claiming it, so I didn't get to try it out. But I have 8 here that I want to try. Stereoplasm does sometimes bring back discontinued scents. They did so somewhat recently in their most recent Easter sale. So it's possible that these might come back at some point. I'll keep my eye out for them, of course, but there are just more scents from them that I really want to try. So with all of that said, let's talk about my experience in terms of shipping and in terms of customer service. So based on my notes, I have purchased from Stereoplasm 8 times. The first was August 17th, 2022. I received my package October 7th. So that's almost 2 months later. The next I purchased is March 8th, 2023. I received my package April 19th, 2023. So that's about 5 weeks later. I placed 2 orders, May 23rd and May 28th in 2023, and I received both of those packages on June 14th, so that's just a couple weeks. Then I had an issue with that shipment because one of my perfumes was not in the package, so they had reshipped something. The item that was missing on July 17th, received it July 19th, so I guess I didn't technically purchase 8 times. I purchased 7 times but received 8 packages because one package was missing something, so they reshipped it. Then I purchased December 15th, 2023, received my package January 4th, 2023, so that's about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Then I purchased February 4th, 2024. I received my package March 7th, 2024. There was an issue with that package, didn't receive everything that I had ordered. I placed another order April 1st, 2024, received my package May 13th, 2024. Again, there was an issue with that order, and I'll talk about that purchase in particular in a minute. And then because of the issue with that package, similar to what I described before, I guess I didn't actually purchase 7 times, I purchased 6 times. They had missed one of the products in that order, so they had shipped it, they had created like a new package for me, which they shipped June 26th, 2024. I received it June 27th, 2024. So 1 day, which is lovely, again, as a Canadian, where things can take a very long time to get to you. But that was something that I had ordered and didn't originally receive. So what I will say with this is you can see that there's quite a wide variation in terms of turnaround time, with some products or some packages taking months to get to me, and then some others taking maybe 2 weeks. Generally speaking, when I purchase from a store, I want to know a rough idea of when my package is going to ship. I understand turnaround time does not include the shipping time. So if you say that you have a turnaround time of, for example, 10 business days, I expect my package to ship within 10 business days. I find Stereoplasm to be a bit fast and loose in terms of their turnaround time and what they state it will be and what it actually ends up being. They also have a habit of creating shipping labels very early on, and then there will be no movement whatsoever on the package. If you're not aware, creating a shipping label does not mean that the courier has actually received the package. but you do get a shipping notification. So you might think, oh great, my package has shipped, but the merchant can sit on that shipping label for months and months. They never technically have to ship out that package. That's just a forewarning. For example, for the order that I placed April 1st, I'm pretty sure I had a shipping label made maybe like 2 weeks later, but my package actually shipped after that shipping label was made like 3 weeks later. So on top of all of that, and so there are a lot of people like me who have had similar experiences with Stereoplasm, where there's a very long turnaround time with no update, and you might have to reach out several times to make sure like your order is actually coming. And on top of that, there have been many people, including myself, who have not received all of the products that they've ordered, and or just like straight up the wrong order. So these are all things to be aware of. For myself personally, do I recommend Stereoplasm's perfumes? Yes, 100%. I think they have a lovely catalog. Do I recommend purchasing from Stereoplasm the store? That I'm less sure of. I think I could not, in good faith, recommend to a friend or really anyone that I cared about to purchase directly from Stereoplasm. I think if you're interested in trying their scents, the best method currently of acquiring them is to look through various perfume marketplaces to see if anyone is selling them, because I think you'll find that a random person half a province or a state over will get that product to you much quicker than Stereoplasm will, and you just don't have to deal with so many of the issues that a lot of people experience when shopping directly through Stereoplasm. All of that to say, Stereoplasm has recently come out with 2 statements, including an apology, because I mentioned one of the purchases that I made was during the Easter sale this year in 2024, and there were a lot of people who didn't receive their purchase or their package for a very long time, some of whom I suspect still haven't. And in this statement, she addresses some of the issues that the store had and apologized to customers. And I believe she is trying to make things right and make things better, basically, for her customers. So in this statement, she talks a bit about some of the issues that have faced her business. In particular, there's a housing crisis going on in many places in Canada, I'm sure in the US as well. But particularly in Ontario, we don't have enough housing for everyone, to be frank. And she lives in a small town in Ontario that is not transit accessible, and it sounds like it's a college town, and so there's just a lot of turnover. Rents have been going up and up, and that just means that having a trained employee who is able to afford a car and an apartment in that area and stay there long term is rather difficult. I can sympathize with that. She also talks about how she will be moving forward, going on. I'll include a link to these statements in the description box to this video, so you can read it for yourself. You can decide for yourself whether or not you want to take a risk with this company. I feel conflicted because I have ordered from them many times, sometimes without issue, but several times with issue. And I so rarely have issues with stores that having multiple issues with the same store seems like it points to a pattern. That said, I have gotten numerous coupon codes because of the issues that I've experienced with the store. So I have some of the orders that I have placed have been basically $0, or if I did have to pay anything, it was very, very minor amount because the value of the coupon was more than the purchase price of the perfumes. So that's kind of the story of my situation with Stereoplasm. I think they are a very interesting store with a very interesting catalog. I focused a lot on gourmand scents that they carry, but they have so many that aren't in that space that I think would interest a lot of people. She comes out with regular themed collections, like she has an entire one based on music. There's one called Grieve in Stereo that I think is really cute. It's based on a MGMT song that I quite like. But I think I think the creative side of the business is really, really strong. I think the business side of the business is a little weaker, but I think she's working with a new person to help her kind of get on the right track. I still have coupons that I can use to purchase from them, so I probably will continue to do so. But in terms of anyone watching this video, I think you need to consider whether or not you're willing, A, to wait for a package, and B, whether you're conscientious enough to follow up on the status of a package, which, trust me, as a consumer, I don't think you should have to do that in order to get your package, but that might be the case here if you do choose to purchase from them. So really consider those two things before buying. I think if you do purchase from them and you do receive your package, I'm virtually certain that you will be delighted, because I think they just have an excellent formulation. But I think that's all I really wanted to talk about today. If there are any indie perfumeries that you want me to talk about that I haven't yet, please let me know. I'll include a link to the playlist where I'm compiling all of the indie fragrance reviews that I've been doing. So if you've enjoyed your time here, I hope you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you want to do more than that, I'll have a few links in the description that you can use to support me further. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Have you purchased from Stereoplasm? And if you have, what has your experience been like? Would you recommend them to others? I'd love to hear it. And before I go, I'd like to take a minute to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.